menstrual cycle. So menstrual cycle starts with the stimulation of FSH. Menstrual cycle starts with the stimulation of FSH. Okay, how it will come, I will explain. Okay, menstrual cycle starts with the stimulation of FSH. Okay, now a question arises: which one is the first day of menstrual cycle? Is it the first day on which the female get menstruation, or else it is the last day the female getting menstruation? I mean, the next day the female get menstruation. Which one is the first day of menstrual cycle? After menstruation or the first day of menstruation? Huh? Yeah. So the first day of menstrual cycle, the first day of menstruation, first day of menstruation is the first day of menstrual cycle. Okay, this is very, very important, because in order for you to calculate the expected date of delivery, also you need to calculate the same. Okay, and then OCPs are the oral contraceptive pills. In order for them to start, and then we'll see a number of drugs which we are going to tell that on a particular day we have to start. Okay, on a particular day of menstrual cycle we have to start. So in order to understand that, you need to know which day is the first day of menstrual cycle, isn't it? Okay, so first day of menstrual cycle is first day of menstruation is the first day of the menstrual cycle. Okay, now let's see the menstrual cycle. Okay, so in order to understand the menstrual cycle, remember 1, 2, and 3 rule. What it is? 1, 2, and 3 rule. Okay, so what is this 1, 2, and 3 rule? First comes 1. So 1 is the FSH. What we have is the FSH. Okay, FSH will come and act on the primordial follicle. Okay, FSH will come and act on the primordial follicle. This primordial follicle will be get converted into the primary follicle. Okay, primordial follicle will be get converted into the primary follicle under the influence of FSH. Now here comes 2. Primary follicle releases 2 hormones. Those are the estrogen, inhibin B. Estrogen and inhibin B. So 2 was done. Now 3. Estrogen does 3 things. First, it is giving negative feedback to the FSH. Negative feedback to the FSH. And then it proliferates the endometrium. Estrogen proliferates the endometrium and progesterone maintains the endometrium. Estrogen proliferates the endometrium and progesterone maintains the endometrium. Okay. Now, another important thing is that it gives positive feedback to the LH. It gives positive feedback to the LH. So what are the 3 functions of estrogen? Negative feedback to the FSH, proliferating the endometrium, and then as well as giving positive feedback to the LH. Okay. So what is the function of inhibin B? Inhibin B also gives negative feedback to the LH. Inhibin B also gives negative feedback to the FSH. Okay. Inhibin B also gives negative feedback to the FSH. So FSH is under the negative influence of inhibin B and estrogen. So if there is inhibin B, somewhere it should be inhibin A also, right? So we'll see where it is. Okay. So primary follicle is get converted into the antral follicle. Antral follicle is get converted into the Graafian follicle. And Graafian follicle, remember, it reaches its maximum size just before the ovulation. It reaches its maximum size just before the ovulation. Okay. So let's see how the ovulation occurs. Okay. Ovulation occurs due to something called as LH surge. Ovulation occurs due to LH surge. Ovulation occurs due to, speak out, ovulation occurs due to LH surge. Ovulation occurs due to LH surge. Okay. Ovulation occurs due to the estrogen, progesterone, and LH surge. Okay. Due to the levels of estrogen, progesterone, and LH surge. But main action would be due to the LH surge. Okay. Now, the whole time of which this LH surge lasts is 32 to 36 hours. 32 to 36 hours. Whole LH surge would be for 32 to 36 hours. Okay. But at some point of time, just before the ovulation, the LH reaches at its peak. Okay. LH reaches to its peak level. When it would be 10 to 12 hours before the ovulation. It would be 10 to 12 hours before the ovulation. Okay. Total LH surge lasts for 32 to 36 hours. LH peak would be 10 to 12 10 to 12 hours before the ovulation. Okay, 10 to 12 hours before the ovulation. Okay, so now on the 14th day, ovulation will occur. On the 14th day, ovulation will occur. Let's talk about normal physiology. On the 14th day, ovulation occurs. Okay, until the ovulation occurs, the cycle we call it as it was there in the follicular phase or else the proliferative phase. Follicular phase or proliferative phase. When we are talking in relation to the follicle, we call it as follicular phase. When we are talking in relation to the endometrium, we call the endometrial, the menstrual cycle is there in the proliferative phase. Okay. Okay. Now let's say that on the 14th day, ovulation has occurred. On the 14th day, ovulation has occurred. Ovulation is due to LH surge. Okay. Keep back of your mind that LH surge is also due to estrogen and progesterone. But what you need to push it forward, ovulation is due to LH surge. Okay. So on the 14th day, let's say that ovulation has occurred. After the ovulation has occurred, whatever this Graafian follicle is there, from now onwards, we call it as corpus luteum. From now onwards, we call it as corpus luteum. Corpus luteum again does three things. Corpus luteum again does three things. One is that it is producing inhibin A. Remember, we have inhibin B, which is giving negative feedback to the FSH. Inhibin A gives negative feedback to the LH. Inhibin A gives negative feedback to the LH. And then estrogen and progesterone. Estrogen and progesterone. All these three things will give negative feedback to the LH. Estrogen, progesterone, and inhibin A. All these three things will give negative feedback to the LH. Okay. So, what is the action of estrogen on LH in follicular phase? What is the action of estrogen on LH in the follicular phase? Positive feedback. What is there in the luteal phase? In the luteal phase, after the ovulation. Positive or negative? Positive or negative? LH is under the negative influence of LH is under the negative influence of which hormones? Inhibin A, progesterone, and estrogen. Inhibin A, progesterone, and estrogen. So the estrogen, which is giving positive feedback to the LH in the follicular phase, in luteal phase, it is giving negative feedback. In luteal phase, it is giving negative feedback. Okay. Now, but the main action is due to the progesterone. Main action is due to the progesterone. Okay. Now, remember one important thing is that progesterone is the one which is maintaining the endometrium. Progesterone is the one which is maintaining endometrium. Okay. Progesterone is the one which is maintaining endometrium. Okay. So the corpus luteum size will keep on increasing and increasing and increasing until day 22. Until day 22. Okay. Day 22 is the day on which we see the maximum activity of corpus luteum. Day 22 is the day on which we'll see the maximum activity of corpus luteum. Okay. So the maximum amount of progesterone is also released on day 22. Okay. Maximum amount of progesterone is also released on day 22. So what does this signify? This signifies that just 2 days before this, if the let's say that the fertilization has occurred, just 2 days before this, let's say the fertilization has occurred. Just 2 days before this, I mean on the 20th day of menstruation, implantation occurs. So on the 22 day, ideally you can check beta HCG, isn't it? Am I right or wrong? Ideally, on the 20th day of menstrual cycle, implantation occurs. Okay. So on the 22nd day, ideally you can measure beta HCG in the blood. Okay. So this is the significance of this. So the maximum activity of corpus luteum is seen on day 22. So on the day in which you will have the maximum amount of progesterone, okay, maximum amount of progesterone. And on this day, you can actually check if the fertilization occurs, you can actually check beta HCG, okay, to confirm the pregnancy. All right. Okay. This is all about if the fertilization has occurred. Now let's say the fertilization hasn't occurred. Okay, now let's say the fertilization hasn't occurred. So from the 22nd day, the LH activity will keep on decreasing. LH activity will keep on decreasing. So the corpus luteum size also will keep on decreasing. So the corpus luteum size also will keep on decreasing. So when the corpus luteum size keeps on decreasing, progesterone levels also will fall now, right? Progesterone levels also will fall. So ultimately on the day 28, when the LH levels fall to its lowest level, there is nothing to maintain the corpus luteum. There is nothing to maintain the corpus luteum. So there is no progesterone. So there is no progesterone. What will happen is that whatever the support it was there for the endometrium is lost. Whatever the support it was there for the endometrium is lost. So menstruation will occur. Menstruation will occur. All right. Understood? So now question arises, why the reduced levels of progesterone will cause the bleeding? So what endometrium during its luteal phase, it will be like this. It will be like this. Okay. It will be like this. So whatever the gaps were there in the middle, from there the arteries will arise. From there, arteries will arise. Okay, it will form as a mesh, and from the middle, arteries will arise. So if the progesterone was not there, this mesh will close up. This mesh will close up. So the whatever the arterial supply to the endometrium is lost, whatever the arterial supply to the endometrium is lost. So ultimately, whatever it is there, when it has no nutrition, supply, it will shed off. It will shed off. Okay, understood why the reduced levels of progesterone will cause the menstruation. So during this, actually the endometrium would be of this way. Okay, it will form as a mesh. Okay, from the mesh, whatever the holes were there, from those holes, arteries will come. Okay, arteries will come to supply the nutritious material to the endometrium. So if the progesterone, this mesh is maintained by the progesterone. This mesh is maintained by the progesterone. So if the progesterone was not there, this mesh will, whatever it is there like this, it will close up. Okay, it will close up. So when it closes up, arteries will also close up now. So the arterial supply to the endometrium is also lost now. So that is how when it has no support, the endometrium will come and you'll see as a visual bleed. Okay, you'll see it as a visual bleed. And remember one important MCQ: whatever the menstrual bleed you see, it is of the arterial bleed. Okay, menstruation is which bleed? Arterial or venous bleed? Arterial bleed. So whatever it is there, I have given in the graphical representation. That's it. Okay. Sorry, the picture is representation. Okay. So the follicle, it is keep on increasing, and then ovum is ovulation is occurring, and then the corpus luteum, and then the progesterone and estrogen, and it is giving negative feedback to the LH. Okay. So this is how the endometrium will keep on increasing during the follicular phase, and this is how it is maintained during the luteal phase. Okay. This is how it is maintaining in the luteal phase. Okay. So everyone is clear about the menstrual cycle? Everyone is clear about the menstrual cycle? All right. Okay, fine. So this forms a very important MCQ, this graphs, these both graphs. Okay. Already 2 times in the previously concluded exams in FMGE, that is in the 2019 June exam as well as in the August exam, like 2020 August exam. In both exams, they asked this thing. Okay. Basically, the menstrual cycle is divided into 2 phases, right? Follicular and luteal phase. Am I right or wrong? Follicular and luteal phase. So this dotted line is the day on which the 14th day the ovulation occurs. So until the ovulation occurs, we call the cycle is in. After the ovulation, luteal phase. Okay. So now let's see about the estrogen and progesterone first, and then we'll see about the LH in that phase. Okay. So estrogen levels would be keep on increasing, and it reaches its maximum and reaches its peak on day 10, day 11, and reaches its maximum on day 10 and day 11. Okay. On the 14th day, what is happening? Ovulation is occurring, no? Okay. So the LH surge lasts for 36 hours. Okay. So ideally it would be 1.5 day, right? So 14 minus 1.5 day. So it would be come across 12th and 13th day, right? It would be come across 12th and 13th day. So what is preceding that? This peak levels of estrogen. What is preceding that? Peak levels of estrogen. So unless you see these peak levels of estrogen, there is not going to be LH surge. If the peak levels of estrogen were not maintained for this on this day 10 and day 11, on this day 10 and day 11, LH surge is not going to. Okay, LH surge is not going to occur. This is what is happening in the PCOS. This is what is happening in the PCOS. There were reduced levels of estrogen. So that is why LH surge is not happening. So female is not having normal menses. Okay. So now, what this estrogen is doing, estrogen is going, and when it is at peak, what is the function of estrogen? What are the functions of estrogen? What are the functions of endometrium? Sorry, what is the function? What are the functions of estrogen?
Proliferation of the endometrium.
Okay. I'm getting answers from here. I want the answers from here also in the class. Negative feedback to the FSH. Positive feedback to the LH. It is giving positive feedback, no? So when it is at its peak, it is going to pinch the LH. So ultimately the LH will come out. Okay, ultimately LH will come out. And then if the LH surge occurs, what it will occur? Ovulation. So after the ovulation, obviously estrogen levels will fall. And then it will go into the some peak and then it comes down. Okay, it will go into the some level and then it comes down. Okay, now let's see about the progesterone. Progesterone is not there in the follicular phase, right? Progesterone is not there, no, in follicular phase. So from what point of time this progesterone synthesis takes place? Progesterone starts secreting from 36 hours before the ovulation. Okay, progesterone starts secreting from 36 hours. Sorry, progesterone production starts from 36 hours before the ovulation. Progesterone production will start from 36 hours before the ovulation. Okay, now obviously in the luteal phase it is the primary hormone. What is the function of progesterone? Two functions of the progesterone. What are those?
Maintains the endometrium.
What are the two functions of progesterone? Negative feedback to the LH as well as maintaining the endometrium. These two are the functions of the progesterone. Okay, now you tell me on which day the maximum level of progesterone would be seen? On the day 22, right? On the day 22. All right. So this is about the progesterone. Sorry, estrogen and progesterone. Now let's see about LH and FSH. So menstruation starts with the stimulation of FSH, right? So FSH starts secreting, and on the day 2, and on the day 2 or day 3. Day 2 or day 3 is the day on which the FSH would be at its maximum level. Okay. So if you want to measure FSH and LH, like in case of PCOS, if you want to measure FSH, like in the case of PCOS, on which day you need to measure? Day 2 or day 3, right? So after that, due to the negative action of this inhibin A as well as inhibin B as well as estrogen, FSH levels will keep on fall. FSH levels will keep on fall. Okay. And then during the ovulation, not only LH surge, there is also FSH which is going to come out. Okay. Now in the exam, if you get a question that ovulation is due to, you need to answer it as both LH and FSH surge. But in the exam, if they gave you only about LH surge, like if you don't found this option, go for the LH surge. Okay. So after the ovulation occurs, it keeps on falling. Okay. Now when it comes to the LH, see, it is at its lowest level in the whole phase of the follicular phase. When it reaches its peak level, when the maximum level of LH is seen. 10 to 12 hours before the ovulation, right? 10 to 12 hours before the ovulation. Total LH surge lasts for 32 to 36 hours. Okay. So in exam, don't expect that here they are going to separate these two graphs and give it to you. Okay. Don't expect this. They are going to combine each and every graph and this and this. Just that they will point out in this way and they will ask you the arrow mark signifies which hormone. They can point it out at any point in this whole phase. Okay. They can point out at any point in this whole phase. Okay. So just be familiar with this graph. Okay. So in exam, if you get it, you're not going to go for wrong. Okay. Now let's see the some facts. Initially, during the follicular phase, it is not only one primordial follicle it is going to develop. Okay. It is not only one primordial follicle it is going to develop. Initially, it would be 10 to 12 primordial follicles. Initially, it would be 10 to 12 primordial follicles that are going to develop. Okay. And on day 5 to 7, and on day 5 to 7 is the day on which the dominant follicle is selected. And on the day 5 to 7, the dominant follicle is selected. This dominant follicle will keep on growing and ultimately it will ovulate and then the menstruation will occur. Okay. And now, so what will happen to the remaining follicles? Out of this 10 to 12, one is getting selected and it is going to become dominant follicle. No, what is happening to remaining things? Those will become atretic on the next day itself. It will become atretic on the next day itself. That is on day 8. Okay. So on which day the dominant follicle is getting selected? Day 5 to selected, and it will become atretic on day 8. Okay. So when we can see the peak levels of estrogen? Estrogen on day? On which day? Peak levels of estrogen?
10 to 11. Day 10 to 11.
Day 10 to day 11 is the day on which you'll see the maximum levels of estrogen. What is this maximum level of estrogen will do? Induce LH surge. Okay. Okay. So what is the basic prerequisite for ovulation is? Why the ovulation will occur? It is due to changes in the estrogen levels. It is due to change in the estrogen levels. Okay. So if the peak is not seen, what we are not going to see? Ovulation is not going to occur. What is the one example in which the ovulation is not going to occur? PCOS. Okay. Okay, sorry. Any change in this leads to anovulation. If the ovulation is not occurring, we call it as anovulation. If the ovulation is not occurring, we call it as anovulation. And as it is seen in PCOS. Okay. Now, let's see about the corpus luteum. Few words about the corpus luteum. Okay. So in non-pregnant phase, this corpus luteum is maintained by the LH. In non-pregnant phase, the corpus luteum is maintained by the LH. Okay. So when would be the maximum activity of corpus luteum is seen on? Day? On which day the maximum activity of corpus luteum is seen on? Day 22 is the day on which the maximum activity of corpus luteum is seen. Okay. So this with regards to the whole menstrual cycle. Now, if we talk about ovulation, after ovulation, it is on the day 8 on which the maximum activity of corpus luteum is. It is on the day 8 on which the maximum activity of corpus luteum is seen. Okay. So the lifespan of corpus luteum is 10 to 12 days. Lifespan of corpus luteum is 10 to 12 days. Okay. This is in non-pregnant state. Okay. What we see in the pregnant state? In corpus luteum, the lifespan of corpus luteum is about 10 to 12 weeks. Okay. Is about 10 to 12 weeks. But In pregnant stage, it is maintained by the beta HCG. Okay, in pregnant stage, it is maintained by the beta HCG. Why I am calling it as particularly beta HCG? Why it can't be alpha HCG, gamma HCG, delta HCG? We'll see. Okay. So after 10 weeks, after 10 to 12 weeks, what is the function of corpus luteum? What is the function of corpus luteum? What is the function of corpus luteum? Remember 3. Secreting, inhibin A, estrogen, progesterone, right? Progesterone is the one which is maintaining the endometrium. So in pregnancy, you want to maintain the endometrium or else you want it to shed. You want it to maintain, right? So if the corpus luteum is not there, what it is going to maintain the endometrium? If the corpus luteum is not there, progesterone levels won't be there, no? So at this point of time, which part is going to secrete the progesterone? It is the placenta. It is the placenta. Okay. So am I clear until now?